how to get the most out of your real estate transaction. In real estate, it's not about just what you want. It's about how to be ready, willing, and able to go after it once you find it. Whether you're buying your first home or selling your fifth, success comes down to preparation, mindset, and execution. And in today's video, what we want to show you is exactly how to position yourself to win in any market without the stress, without the setback, and without the surprises. Because obviously, as a lot of people are watching this channel, they're starting to reach out to us more and more about coming and visiting Reno and whether they're ready to buy immediately or whether they're just trying to get a lay of the land to figure out what they might want to do 6 or 12 months from now. There's things they need to do to be ready that not only help them, but definitely help us, because it seems like a lot of times people come up and they think they're doing just an exploratory trip, which turns into, I found something I love and I want to write an offer, and then they're not prepared to do it. So let's start with that. We want to talk about, again, ready, willing, and able. So first we're going to start with, what does it mean to be ready?
Preparation is power. And basically what that entails, especially for the buyer side of things, your pre-approval letter is important if you do need financing, figuring out your loan structure, and getting your kind of wish list together of what are essentials you need in a home versus what are preferences. And also for couples, it is rare that husband and wife or anyone in a relationship is exactly on the same page. Right. So figuring out where's your common ground versus what does he want, what does she want, and vice versa. And we
always tell people, being ready, even though the initial trip might be just to come get some ideas of neighborhoods and ideas of things, if you don't know what price point you want to be in and what's comfortably affordable, then sometimes we might take you to areas that now you are interested in, but you can't afford to be in. Right. And so that whole dollar amount thing really gets people organized on where we need to drive them around, we need to show them. As far as cash buyers go, a lot of cash buyers, their money is tied up in some sort of weird way. They don't have access to it immediately. And it's something you need to be aware of, whether you're getting money and it's just in your savings account versus money that might be tied up in some sort of other investment vehicle. You want to be able to know how long is it going to take to get to that cash, so that when we do get to a transaction, we're able to have to close, or we need a statement to show proof of funds to another person. You want to have access to all of those things. So if you don't have a lender, we obviously want to make sure they've spoken to a lender, getting documents and things they need to a lender, so we have a real approval amount. And again, even if you're not looking at doing something for a little bit of time, we want you to be ready, because it's amazing how many times people come
all the time
and they're not thinking I'm going to buy, and then all of a sudden, hey, I'm only here to, and they do it, right? I mean, how many times have we seen that lately?
It happens all the time where people come up. I mean, I have 3 out-of-state clients in town all this week viewing property with me, and 2 of them, they're exploratory, and then the other is fully prepped. She's ready to rock and roll. And it's funny, the homes we saw yesterday, they love.
Right.
They love them. And they're like, oh gosh, maybe we shouldn't have done this.
Right. So they're ready to come now, even though they're not quite ready to come now.
Yep.
What I tell people too now, when we're going to flip the script a little bit to the selling side of things. And again, this could be us talking to local sellers here in Reno, but for a lot of you, you have a home to sell in the city that you live in before you come here. So if you don't have a realtor that you feel is up to snuff in the area you live in, we're happy to find you someone that can help you on that side. But what are some of the things as a seller, all their prep work kind of gets done before that for sale sign and that door starts opening for people to walk inside? What are some of the things they can do? And we love when they get a hold of us 2, 3, 4 months before they're ready to sell, because then they're not in a hurry. It's amazing how we're not in a hurry, and then all of a sudden it feels like we got plenty of time, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, now I'm in a hurry. What are some of these things that we want to talk to sellers about so that they can be prepared and be ready to get moving as well?
For sellers that have been in their homes for a long time, depending on the kind of upkeep and maintenance that you typically would do on your property, you might consider a pre-sale home inspection and or having us kind of walk around your house with you and seeing if there's any sort of minor repairs that can be made. You potentially might have credits that you're willing to offer for some of the bigger things like carpet and paint, for example. Just getting your house prepared to show, cleaning up all of your personal items and making it pretty much show and photo ready.
Well, and I tell people all the time, even if they're a few months out still, is if you were moving this weekend and you knew it wasn't coming with you to wherever you're moving to, it's time to throw it away, give it away, donate it, have your family, whoever's going to take some of these things and get some of that stuff out of your house now. Because it always does feel you have lots of time. If you store a lot of these things in your garage, it's really okay. People only want to see garages so they can get to either water heaters or furnaces or things like that and know, will my truck fit?
Right.
And so as long as you have those things, that's great. But again, we'll walk you through the process as far as the selling side of things go. Why is this so important? Why does it matter on both sides of the fence?
Preparation is, to be perfectly honest, the best way to give you more negotiating power. When you are ready for this process, because it is a big process, it's not just looking at homes and then writing the offer. You have so many more steps to get you to the closing table. So being prepared and organized prior to even writing a contract and or listing your home gives you so much more peace of mind and negotiating power during your transaction.
It lets them be confident about knowing what we're getting ready to do, and then they're ready to make those decisions when the time comes because we've done all the prep work first. So what happens to them if they're not ready?
You can have some pretty costly mistakes and or missed opportunities. I know plenty of people that I have shown property to that, again, they're on their exploratory mission and they miss out on some houses that potentially could have been really, really good for them or in ideal locations because they weren't ready.
So I always tell people, we want to be ready. It makes us be able to move faster, be moving smarter, more confidently. And so that is the first step of our ready, willing, and able. And now we want to talk about willing. A lot of that is kind of mindset things. It's the mechanics of understanding how all this process works. What are you having conversations with people when they're saying, okay, how do we, now that we're ready, and now that next step happens, what do we guide them through and say?
This is when, at least on the buy side of things, you're going to start seeing a lot of homes in different areas. Some you're going to love, some you're absolutely going to hate, and potentially being flexible within what you thought were your must-haves versus what are actually your must-haves. Figuring out what works for you, what doesn't, what you can compromise on. There's all kinds of things in terms of flexibility that help you be willing to change a direction, and maybe it works out better for you in the end.
Buy the house for the 365 days that you live in it, not the 15 days over the holidays or the occasional I have family come in town and I need the 5th bedroom or 4th bedroom. I go, worst case scenario, if people need to stay in a hotel or you figure it out for, sleeping bags on the floor for a week because you got younger kids around, it's fine. Like people, they worry too much about those handful of days. It's like, focus on the time that you're there, year round. If you're just starting on your journey to moving to Northern Nevada, do me a favor. Click on the link in the description below to get your free copy of our buyer's guide that'll help you start on your journey to Northern Nevada. As far as sellers, when they're now ready and that for sale sign goes in, we always want them to be flexible, negotiable. And on both sides of the fence, there's lots of things they need to understand where there's a lot of non-monetary, non-dollar things that we can try to figure out to make transactions work. So it's not always about, hey, the best price, the highest price. Sometimes it's about being flexible with moving dates, closing dates, and other things that can be more flexible. Is it something that really helps people? We want to have those conversations with them prior to walking in those doors.
Absolutely. And as the buy side of things, when I'm dealing with the sellers and the other listing agents, I am always really appreciative when the seller is ready and willing as well, because that makes the transaction so much easier. You can have the open flow of conversation that makes everything so much easier when you do get into nitty-gritty negotiations over money.
And so now that they've had all these conversations, we're prepped on the beginning, a for sale sign goes in the yard for a seller, a buyer's now hopping in the car and going and seeing homes. Now this is that time where we need them to be ready to act if they find what they need or if they get an offer on their house. And it's funny how it feels like, again, you always have plenty of time. And before you know it, things are happening really quickly. And this is that be able part of the transaction. What do you say to that?
Being able in your transaction is predominantly about communication, trusting your team. And we work on a team, but obviously potentially you have a single agent, but just trusting your team between your lender, your title company, and your realtor, that everybody is helping you along, being able to give them the information that we need in order to help you. It's a give and take here at this point that everybody needs something from you and you need something from us as well. It's a mutual agreement at that point, and just staying with the process. It's long.
Well, we need them to be able to sign paperwork quickly, move forward
doing
quickly.
Things efficiently.
It's like we got to keep things moving down the road. You can't kick the ball downhill and then not run after. It's like we got to keep these things processed and things going from there, and being organized. So what is a good way? Because again, as you're talking about between realtors, potentially lenders, title and escrow, inspectors, homeowner associations, how do we help them stay organized in this process?
We can help you with priority in terms of how time sensitive things are. Everything in a real estate transaction is a priority, but what is time sensitive, what isn't? I also suggest making a folder in your email with all of your transaction stuff, and you can go even so far to separate the title from the lender, from the realtor stuff, just to keep things a little bit more clear. And honestly, if you ever lose a document or you don't know where something went or you're confused on something, call your realtor, call your team.
Yeah, we'll typically have all that stuff because we're pretty good at keeping all that stuff organized. And so with trying to stay organized, let's flip the script on them a little bit. And what is the cost when people are disorganized or don't know where their paperwork is or not understanding how this process of going from, hey, I'm raising my hand to starting to actually giving someone else their keys as a seller or as a buyer getting those keys to move in? What is the cost of being completely disorganized or unavailable so that we can't find you.
You can potentially lose out over a deal, typically is the worst case scenario at that point, but there's also a lot of mental frustration that comes out of that. You can get buyer and seller fatigue at that point where you feel really overwhelmed by the process because you let yourself get behind and now you're swimming in documents that everybody needs, everybody's hounding you for something, and just staying on top of it to begin with would have been so much more helpful.
And that's why we have Robin, our office manager / transaction coordinator, who keeps both of us and our clients within those timeframes, because if you don't stay within them, there can be financial costs.
Yep.
You know, you have timeframes for inspections, for HOA documents, there's timeframes for closing. There's all these things as we keep moving along the transaction that we got to stay within those timeframes. Rate locks on loans expire at some point. And so if we somehow get odd delays for some reason, whether who knows what they are, we have millions of examples, there can be some significant financial costs to both parties in the transaction, which we want to try to avoid as well. So staying organized is a big one. Do we have any like recent example of anything that we could think of? I was trying to think of one where we're negotiating right now about some repair requests,
Yes.
but we didn't have any idea of what the cost of those repairs were going to be. And now the buyer and seller are sort of hemming and hawing over how much they're willing to offer for a credit.
Right.
And technically the time frame is running out, I think today, as a matter of fact.
Yes.
And we're trying to get those things addressed where both people still want to buy and sell.
Right.
So if everyone can take a deep breath while we're waiting for some of these outside vendors to get us some of the information, it's just sometimes you kind of have to all work together, even the people on the other side of things. So why is it so important? You know, we have notes about this. Surrounding yourself with the right team. And we talk about the right team, it goes to them asking us for things as far as down the road as inspectors, which we have lots of, repair people, after the sale times and stuff, besides just the normal lenders and title and escrow, because we're a title and escrow state, and realtors. There's a lot more people even long after the transaction is closed.
For us, we are here to help you. It is our job to guide you through the process because this is our daily job. This is what we do all the time. Not, oh, I haven't done a real estate transaction in 7 years. I don't really know what I'm doing. We are supposed to guide you through the process. That is the whole point of why you hired a realtor in the first place. We keep you on the straight and narrow. And what we always say, perfectly rational people, when you go to freak out in the middle of your real estate transaction, we're there to hold your hand and bring you back going, hey, we're all right.
And that's the part with the communication. So sometimes like one of my pet phrases I always use as our team is the news is the news.
Yes.
Sometimes the news is good news. Sometimes the news is bad news. But we have to be able to communicate together because there are going to be times I call it like a bumpy flight. It doesn't always run smooth. Sometimes there's turbulence. Sometimes there's bumps in the road. Sometimes you're going to get irritated.
Yep.
And we want to be able to have those open and honest conversations and just know we're all working to get to the same goal. So it's important to know that communication is a have to. It's not a want to. It's a have to in these transactions. So what would be the things now when we're talking as a final sort of recap here about, be ready, willing, and able? What does that mean?
Being ready is doing your homework. Research different agents if you don't have one or your family doesn't have one that you trust. Research your properties, research your price point, get some preliminary work done prior to reaching out and interviewing agents, lenders, things of that nature. Once you have everybody together, being willing to stay flexible and open to kind of letting the process unfold. It's quite a bit of information.
Trusting.
Yes, you have to trust us. And that can be scary because the home buying and selling process is a little scary.
Yeah.
And lastly, being able, just being organized, being willing to come through the process with us and able to perform, get the documents that we need, signatures, being present in the transaction.
Everybody's situation is different. So as you're watching these videos, just know if you have to sell somewhere else before you move here, we can help you find realtors in your community where you live now. And obviously we know everything about Northern Nevada, just not Reno, Sparks, but all these surrounding cities as well. We're happy to help with everything. If you're starting your journey to Northern Nevada, do me a favor. Check out this video we did right here about the biggest mistakes buyers make.